Hi everyone, Coffee Grump here. Today we are looking at the La Specialista Prestigio. The La Specialista is the first machine, first generation. They had two versions of that. They've moved on to the Prestigio. The Prestigio took care of a lot of problems the first generation machine was having, and it is a little bit different, and we're going to do a repair to this machine and a full breakdown, and I'll talk about every part that has been troublesome all along the way. And before we do that, I'm just going to make myself a quick espresso. Espresso is what keeps us moving. Just so you know that this machine was working before we started to take it all apart. And plus it gives me a nice espresso. The issue I'm having with this machine is the steam wand is actually not coming out very strong. And this is a technical issue that Delonghi was having in the Prestigio. They changed the system a little bit. And, oh, we had it on a can over there. Well, we'll get a little bit of Americano in there. There we go. Delonghi changed the way that the steam delivery comes out slightly, and there is a problem with some of the mechanics in there. So we're going to change that and get a nice full steam. But let's just take a look at what's coming out right now. As you see, not very much. And this is what we're going to target on to fix, but we're going to do a full breakdown of the machine as well. Alright, let's get to it. Okay, I've enjoyed my espresso. Just a little bit of my background. I work on Delonghi's every day, 5 days a week, and this is why I know so much. I do work in a service center, and we'll get right at it. So at this point, I'm just going to shut it down. And I'm going to start taking off all the items that I don't need anymore, but I'll give a little brief description if there was an issue in the past. Start with the drip tray. On the first generation La Specialista, they actually had an oval or a circular hole there, and it wasn't large enough to cover the connection, and it actually dripped underneath the tray. They do have an upgrade inner tray. It's just this part here, and you can purchase that. But on the La Specialista Prestigio, if you have the Prestigio, it comes all upgraded. You have no worries on that. It's all good. Portafilter, they are different. They're not the same. The original La Specialista has a removable port to clean the portafilter. In this one, they don't. And this one's pressurized, this one's not pressurized. So just want to make sure that you're not mixing the first generation in with the second generation. The machine works a little differently. That's why this one's not pressurized, and gives you, in my opinion, a little bit more full body and better flavor from your coffee. Okay, we'll just move along here. I'm going to take off the smaller cup tray. Just pull it off on one side and it comes right out. Just to keep it out of the way, because I'm going to have this broken right down. I want to make sure nothing's going to flap out and start scratching any other parts to it. I'm definitely going to take off the hopper, stick it in the unlock position, and just pull straight up. And there was very minimum beans in there already, so we're good. Otherwise, I will take a vacuum and vacuum that cavity out. Especially when I reassemble it, I'll put the vacuum in there. You don't want to reassemble your hopper or your burr with coffee residue in there. You want to get it vacuumed out. That's the reason why your post in there can actually separate from your collar. If you're having the problem where your collar's going swoosh, swoosh, like very freely and not clicking, that's the reason why. The beans have lifted up this top panel, separated the collar from the grinder, and that's why you're not getting your adjustments. And I did cover that in a previous video on my channel. So a couple more things. I'm just going to pull the water tank out, set that aside. We don't want to damage that. And I'm also going to unplug it and turn this unit off. And there we go. A couple things to note with the Prestigio. The physical changes on the outside are you can adjust your temperature here, and the steam wand. The steam wand is more restaurant style. Gives you a little bit more action to do when you're frothing your milk, and in my opinion, it's superior than the first steam wand that they had on the first of the specialty stuff. But other than that, we're actually ready to pop into this guy. But before we do, I just want to go over the tools that we're going to need. I usually keep a Phillips screwdriver, a pick, and a nice soft cloth, because we are going to manipulate this machine on its side, on its back, on its front, to tear it all down. And I always keep an automatic drill, which I use this a lot because there is a lot of screws in this machine. There's not a lot of different screws in the machine, but there's a lot of screws. So, and then the last special tool is this guy right here. It's a security Torx, and it's got a little hole in the middle of the Torx, and I believe it is a T20, and that's the only tools you'll need to get into this guy. So before we get into this machine, I do want to go over one service issue that a lot of people are having, and this has been one of the reasons why. There's multiple reasons why your machine won't sense water in your tank, but there is a common one where I've had to replace the complete tank probably about 4 or 5 times on a client's machine. For some reason, well, scale buildup, if you don't descale your machine properly, can actually make your magnet sticky in there, so it could stay stuck down or stay stuck open. The tank drains out and it confuses the machine. In some cases though, believe it or not, I don't know why, the magnet loses some of its ability, and it won't ride to the sensor. It won't get through to the sensor. So the only solution that I've had is to replace the tank, put a new tank in, it works right away. So I know it's a little bit of a magic trick. You can't see what's going on or the reason why, but it's caught me off guard about, I would say, about 4 or 5 times, and I've had to literally replace the tank, and everything is good again. So that's one reason, and that's something to keep an eye out for. If I had to test my theory, I would have the machine on, I would get a magnet and I would just slide it around this area. I would keep an eye on the front, and if the light comes on to fill water when it's off, and if you can get the magnet in the right spot and the light goes off, then you know that your sensors, your machine is all working properly. It's possibly your tank that needs to be replaced. So keep that in mind. Any kind of magnet. I usually use like a little tiny small one, and just ride it around until I find the sensor, till the light comes on, and then I know that the machine's okay. My tank will most likely have to be replaced. So that's issue number 1. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit of this machine apart. It is a good idea when you start putting screws back into the machine to possibly use a hand screwdriver, because you don't want to break the tabs or strip the screws. I've been doing it a long time, and I have my drill set on 1, so it's a ratchet drill. So when it gets a little certain tight, it'll stop actually tightening it. Because at the end of the day, most of it is plastic, and you want to keep it you want to keep your machine complete. You spent a lot of money into your machine. So one other thing I usually do is I leave these screws in piles. It helps me organize, so anything on the panels or the back kind of stick off to the side. The next one will be over here, here, here. Or you can have a plate or bowls or paper towel, whichever that helps you along the best. Okay. So we're going to get to another major problem, and it really is the same problem as it is on the Specialist. And I did a video just for this problem, how to correct it, how to take this panel off, and how to reset it. So with the 2 screws out, these ones are out now, but I'll be taking this off later. With these 2 screws out, I can actually pop my panel off. It's only pushed in by clips. You're not going to break the machine, but I usually get my pick, get under one of the corners, and then just pull up a little bit, and it pops out. There we go. And don't reef it so hard that the panel's going to fly right off, because you definitely want to control it, because there is wires back here. So you don't want to rip the wires out. One of my other tools that I'm not showing you because I'm actually recording it on my phone is my phone. If I'm unsure if I'm going to remember which way the wires go, take a quick picture of how the wires go, red, brown, and white. Most wires are individual, so you know, I can take this guy off because it's the only wire that's going to fit that port, right? So a couple things here. This wire actually registers that your hopper is in the hopper, that your hopper is in place. And it's a little micro switch, and most times your hopper will actually break at the bottom tabs. And I actually have one that has broken on the bottom tab. So what happens is the hopper won't be registered in the collar. Your machine will think that your hopper's not in the machine. So keep an eye on that if you're having trouble with your hopper being sensed. And if so, the hoppers are purchasable, and they're fairly inexpensive. All right, so that's your micro switch for your hopper. Your wire here is for your eyeball to sense that there's beans in the hopper. So I don't think I've ever had this fail on me, and I don't think I've ever had this micro switch fail on me. 2 things that don't usually fail. The hopper will break. It's brittle, it's sitting over top of a heated machine and all that jazz. So, you know, keep an eye on that if you have an issue in the front that you can't figure out. Anything to do with the hopper could be chipped at the bottom there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the wires. So I've done a lot of these. I remember where the wires go, but by all means use that 5th tool of your camera, take a picture. And of course I'm going to set the panel aside because I don't want to damage it. I'm not going to need this for a while. Actually, I will use this for an explanation on how to reset your hopper. So that's where this video is going to end today. To purchase the full teardown with examples of the issues I mentioned before, click on the link in the description or visit my website at Coffee Grump.